Is it on now? Can someone tell us, is it on now? 'Cause it helps when you turn it on. Oh, good.
There's no, I don't put no lips in it.
Oh, they're all right. Okay, no, they're fine. Hi! Start again. With some audio. I'm Joby Carter from Carter Steam Fair, but you know that, right? So, we're talking all things Scammels today because our first 6 lorries when we started the firm was Scammels. And then we had a Model A, which we still got, and then we got Atkinsons, and then we moved on to ERFs, and we had an AEC and Fodens and so on and so forth. All but one of the Scammels we've still got, but number 3 was sold, and when it was sold I replaced it with a Foden, but this came up for sale. This is a Showtrac. I'll tell you a bit more about Showtracs in a minute, but I couldn't resist but make this number 3. So we've actually got 2 lorries with number 3 on, which seems a little bit crazy. But so what is a Showtrac? Well, there's lots of fakes, I can tell you that much. There were 18 genuine Showtracs built. They were made after the war, and there was an agent, Sidney Harrison, who previously had been an agent for, I believe, both Burrells and Fowlers. Now, they were steam engines, showman's engines, with the motor on the front so that they could produce electricity. Along came the Second World War. I mean, diesel engines had been introduced into into the fairground before the war, but the developments that were made in the war meant that there were so many vehicles, army surplus vehicles, that were suitable for the fairground, that it's incredible that Scammell actually managed to produce a lorry that they built new and people wanted to buy, because there were so many vehicles after all readily available that were easily, and generated, you could easily convert for showman's use. But a Showtrac is special because it is built for the job. And now they're all built differently. In fact, the first one, a lot of people don't know this, but the first one that was built didn't even have a dynamo on it. And the man who has restored it and tastefully restored it in that way and hasn't made it look like one like this, because it never had a body like this. They didn't. Oh, Teddy. I'll be Teddy pulling the wire over. Ted, what's that wire, mate? Oh dear. Man down. It wasn't that dramatic, was it? So they were built especially for showmen, and this one's got all the full kit on it. So it had the dynamo on it to run the ride. It's 450 amps, and it had a winch on it for pulling the stuff out. They've got a wider cab to fit the winch, because the winch is in under the seat, and I'll show you that in a minute. So unlike a lot of the lorries we've got, where the lorry moves, you stop, and there's a generator on the back with its own engine, a Showtrac, similar to a showman's engine, use its motive power to then produce the electricity. There's good and bad in that, because you're wearing the same engine out that you're using for the road. But this was built for Hibble and Mellors, and by all accounts it didn't do that many miles, and I don't think they used it all year, and they didn't wear it out, but it had a particular position at Nottingham and Goose Fair where it could fit between their 2 rides, where they couldn't get another lorry in, and they guaranteed they used it there every year. Then it was sold to Morley's, and it was carried on there till the 70s. The lorry retired in the 70s and went into preservation, and it is, to my knowledge, the only one working commercially back out in use, because all the others are in preservation. A lot are still owned by showmen that had them new. There's 17 left, only one got scrapped, and this is our one. And it was in Hibble and Mellors colours, not the original paintwork, but we made the decision obviously to put it in our colours, and here she is. Now, I had help with the lettering by the man who taught me, because the man who taught me learned in 1950, and that's actually a real tricky bit of lettering, and Stan means the world to me, and it meant a lot to have him help me. So I did everything below, and Stan helped me with the layout of that. Ted, I'm not sure throwing the rag at it is going to help it. You have to actually wash it off, get the dust off. It's a good idea, especially these wings, and the wheels are going to need to. Do you want to do the wheels, Ted? Now, right, shall we show everyone around the show track?
The wonders of
Oh no, that's good. That's good. You've got to watch every bit. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to open the side door while we're waiting. Original wooden roller shutters.
Hello everyone. Right, we're going to go mobile. Take that microphone up there now.
We're going mobile. Are they going to hear me?
Yep.
You hold that on my hold. Oh, look at it. So here we go. This is a scammer. Let's start at the import bit. Kids, where are you? Teddy? Okay. Where's Teddy gone? Right, so here we go. Let's have a look in the cab here. What makes a Scammell Showtrac special? Right. So this is the driving seat. Now, something that is interesting about Scammell Showtrac, might find a bit odd, is I'm sat here and the steering wheel is off centre. Because if you look at the bonnet, it has to be. Because the shaft that turns it has to be inside the bonnet. Now, I'm going to start it up. So I'm going to move it forward a little bit. Whenever you start a Scammell, you make sure it's in between first and second. Mind out, kids, I'm going to fire up. There you go. That's not my lettering, but that's something that's on there and I've kept it there. Now you've got these windows which you can open, fully ventilated, look. And then the windscreen wiper gets in your sight line, it's brilliant. We've got all the original instructions here on how to generate and winch. Fire extinguisher, needless to say, the bottle of water. And under here, you can't see it, yeah, there you go, look. There's the winch. Dirt big Scammell winch. You look in the back there, still haven't got around to clean this glass. There's the dynamo, spare wheel. Lovely thing about these is you can set the revs here. Now I'm going to fetch it forward a little bit, wind the window down. Oh look, someone filming us. So, handbrake off. You always put your foot on a brake to let the handbrake off on a Scammell. Just fetch it forward. Try not to hit the train right. Now, let's get back out. Leave it running. So,
Hold on guys, one sec.
So the way it works is basically you put in the power takeoff. Put in the power takeoff, and then that then generates the dynamo here. It's 110 volt DC, so you bolt on here, and hey presto, you get electricity. I'm not actually going to fire it up today. We had a bit of a hot bearing incident when we were picking this green, so I want to have a look at it properly, which I'll do this winter. I can use it, but I don't need to use it, so right now I'm not going to. Now, if we look in this side, there you go, you can see the winch in there, look. This lovely oval drum bolter for wheeling the winch in properly. You fill this with water because you're not driving along. the engine is gets that little bit hotter, and obviously your revs are quite high, so the radiator feed goes through cold water, and that helps keeps it cold. This is on its original 40 V8s, which are very, very hard to get. They have to be specially made. I particularly love the headlights on this one. They're beautiful. It is generally speaking a very, very, very original Scammell. And this is where you set the revs up when you're generating. So there she is, Scammell Showtrac. Now I'm going to come over and answer some questions. Where's Elizabeth? Does she want to do some filming? Child breaking into the train before we're open. Should we do some questions?
Yeah, you want to swap back on this one?
Yeah.
Sort mine out.
Probably turn the lorry off now, couldn't I? Shall I do that first?
Joby's just going to turn off the lorry, just in case someone decides to jump in it and drive away. Not that they'll get very far. It doesn't want to turn off.
I'll just leave it on the outside.
Cool.
Are we on?
We are. We're still here.
So if you don't pull a gardener stop for long enough and it goes back in, it will just fire back up just like that. That's why it just carried on again.
Right, we have only a couple of questions today. So Ian Wiley wants to know what motor did it have in it.
It's got a Gardner 6LW in it.
And somebody asked what year is it built as James Asco.
It was. They started building them in 1946. This was the fifth or sixth one built. I don't claim to be a Showtrac expert. I just love them. And they built them up until 1948. They were still kind of on their Scammell's catalogue until the 50s, but they kind of dried up the market. They'd made 18 of them, and that was that. Oh, blimey! No one's interested in Showtracs. Regarding Scammells, we don't use as many as I'd like. We've got in the family, I think we've got 9, and there's two of them in the workshop at the minute being painted and having worked on. And we just had a big mechanical on number 12. We just got to get around to painting it. And number 6 needs a birthday, which is on the road, but that's got our 240 generator on it. And but the one that was sold, my brother sold that one. It's a shame we ever sold it, because I love them, and my intention is to restore every one to that condition, and then we can rotate them, use them, and then at special events we can bring them all out. But I mean, if you look at the Scammell, it's not as polished as it should be. It's not as clean as it should be, because I've got a dozen trucks on the road, and each one of those trucks pulls 1 or 2 trailers, and in those trailers is the fare. So the fare gets cleaned first, the transport gets cleaned second. And I mean, we're here for 9 days, and every day we'll keep cleaning a couple of trucks, and then by the time we've done that, the first one will be a bit grubby again. But if anyone wants to come and polish the brass work on the Showtrac, let us know. Feel free.
Some more questions. So Stuart says, when Hibble and Mellors owned it, what would have been its average working amps?
When Hibble and Mellors had it, Stuart, they probably would have used it to its capacity, 400 or 500 amps. They would have got out of it what they could, and it wasn't a historic vehicle then. It was a new vehicle, and they were getting their money's worth out of it.
And Ross Coleman wants to know, what will it pull?
What's it capable of pulling, or what does it actually pull? At the minute, it's going to pull my mum's wagon, which is the one behind it, which is the 1948 Vosper. And when we get our new token booth done, that will be put behind that as well. The other day from Pinckney's Green, it towed the yacht engine, the 1901 yacht engine, and the yacht boat behind it. when it came up from Pinckney's Green, from Maidenhead the other day, I just brought the yacht trailer up because I'd already sent the engine up with another load. And I did it in about 3.5 hours from Maidenhead, but I had a couple of stops. She thumped along at 40. Originally it would have done about 28 miles an hour, but the back axle, thankfully, has been uprated. She'll do about 40. But of course, when you hit a hill and you've got a trailer on, it will slow up.
Wayne actually asked how long did it take to get from Maidenhead. Simon wants to know if we've still got Mr. Plod.
We've still got Mr. Plod, Simon. Yes. Now, believe it or not, here's a bit of trivia. Mr. Plod's number 2, but that was our first Scammell. Number 1 was a Bedford. We sold number 1 because of an unfortunate accident I say it like it is, of diarrhea with a Rottweiler that was sleeping in there. Could never get rid of the smell, so we sold it. We bought number 1. Number 1's called Kathleen. It was bought from Kathleen Wynne, and we had to keep the name. That was a condition, and I know that it had a dynamo on it, and the dynamo was sold, and then we put generators on it. We've still got number 1, but a little story about number 2. See, why I love Scammell so much is some of my earliest memories are sitting in a Scammell with my dad. And whenever I could, whenever it was moving day, I would jump in a Scammell with Dad until I got my driving licence. And I never rode in with my dad ever again because I was driving a vehicle and not in with my dad. And I just used to love it. And we used to have conversations that were basically shouting at one another because you can't hear in a Scammell. But you know, when you're on co-drive, you're there to watch around the corners, and so I learned a lot. One of my earliest memories is we used to live in a place called Smewins, where it was a beautiful old house. And we had the gallopers built up there, and we made this special shed to do the centre up. And when we left that place, we had to take down the temporary sheds we'd put up. And I can remember we put a winch wire on it, and we pulled this complete shed down in one go. And I know what lorry I was sat in. I was sat in number 2, and it was just the best thing in the world. It was a very early memory for me. So I've just got a really, really good, real love for Scammells. And obviously, as soon as I could, I went on to buy my own and bought a couple, and then I've ended up, you know, buying the firm's ones as well. Well, there you go. We've got to get open. I hope you've enjoyed this bit of information about Scammells and why we love them so much. And rest assured, we're not selling any. We're just going to restore the ones we've got. Next time, we'll try and talk about more rides. And if there's any questions you want to know, or anything you'd like us to video and tell you about, then let us know. Tune in. See you later.